at the very beginning, in 1970 and 71, 72, when I was still like at universities, the music, this what's called classical, was so dark, was so like nightmare music, you know. It's just, and I realized this is so stupid. Like, music is not. Again, that's the ego of the composer thinking, because it's very easy to compose nightmare music. It's really much easier to compose beautiful stuff. And I made a conscious decision that, first of all, I hate that stuff. I really hate it and can't stand it. Can't stand to be around it. And that my music was going to try to bring the music of Haydn and Beethoven and Palestrina and Vivaldi and Brahms and Schubert and all. I wanted to bring beauty in music because it didn't exist. I left North America when I was a very young man and went to live in Paris, and there I was brought together with quite a phenomenon, a dancer called Carolyn Carlson, a modern dancer, and she had a very, very profound effect. Like, the birth of this music was a combination of all of these things. My training as a classical pianist. I mean, I did graduate from the conservatory with nothing special. You know, I was somewhere near the bottom of the you know, the grade. You know, but I did manage to get through. Even though I worked very hard, that was the best I could achieve. You know, and it wasn't from laziness, but. So I mention this only because people think that I was perhaps like a virtuoso pianist extraordinaire or something like that, because as a young person, and I wasn't. Not at all, far from it. But anyway, then so the meeting with Carolyn Carlson and playing for her modern dance classes in Paris, that was the birth of this music. And then it went on, and I realized that this is what I will do. Until that point, I did not know really what am I going to do in life. So I was young, I was 22, 23, so it was still, I just left graduate school, university, and you know, people who leave university, most of them have no idea what they're going to do. You know, that's just life, but it's so I was like that as well. And but when this music was born, when it was discovered, and through this dance class, because it needed this type of music for the dance class, and I mean, this music did not exist before, but it was. I got the ideas from Terry Riley and Brian Eno and Steve Reich and those people, and you know, like a piece like Tubular Bells. If you hear it now, you can't imagine what a stunning musical experience that was in 1972 or whatever, or 73, whenever it came out. It was absolutely, you know, earth-shattering, you know, just like Terry Riley's recording in C. And so, of course, I really loved that music, and I wanted to create a union, a synthesis between the beautiful elements. See, classical music lacked the beauty that this music had, and this stuff like Terry Riley and Brian, you know, they also lacked they're a little bit too easy, you know. I wanted to find something really more difficult, something more complex to drive the human being and the human mind, drive us forward to just go into some new territory. And so that's what happened. Like it was the marriage, this beautiful marriage of you know, tubular bells and Brahms on the piano, or Rachmaninoff or something, or Chopin, whatever you wanted. Just the two just came together, and this was the result, the music that I do. And from that birth, then it just went on a journey that is still going. Yeah, I never felt at home in North America. And I grew to really feel very uncomfortable in North America. Since I was a child, I longed to be in Europe. Everything, my whole existence was based on Europe and ancient Greece and Rome and everything. I could not wait to leave North America and get out of that mentality and come back home to where the soul could know things and learn and be. You cannot imagine what happened when the plane arrived at Paris Charles de Gaulle airport. We had no money. And so me and my girlfriend, we decided to hitchhike into Paris because we couldn't really, we had very, very little, so we couldn't really spend the money on the train. And this young Frenchman picked us up, which is quite, and you know, even that in itself is amazing. You know, two people standing on this busy Paris, it's a big highway, you know, wow. And this man, we were talking, and he decided to drive us because we talked about going to the left bank in Paris and into the Bohemian Quarter and try to start our life there. And so he drove us there, and driving us there, he drove through Paris, and he drove past the Paris Opera, where this music was born, in the old Paris Opera. And I remember the colors of the sky and the clouds. It was these cumulus clouds. This was 45 years ago. And the colors, and then the colors of the stone walls in Paris. Like they're sort of beige, a little bit orangey, it's a little bit sort of gray, and there's a tinge of green. It's just, you can't imagine. Like, I really felt that I had left hell and had come to heaven. You know, and it was just astounding. And this man took us. He took us and dropped us off in front of a little hotel called the Hotel des Grands Hommes. You know, the hotel of great men. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, is this a sign? Will this ever happen, you know? I still don't know if it will happen, but it was like this man and this drive past the Paris Opera. I had no idea then that I would be back there, and that this music, this incredible music, and the entire history of the piano would change in that building, in the Paris Opera, up on the attic. People don't get there because like they go to the opera in the Paris Opera, but above it, there's this enormous, huge attic space where the dancers work, you know, wooden floor, very old wooden floors, windows looking out over Paris. Like it's at the top of the building. It had glass, huge, sort of like glass walls, I guess. You know. Like I still think that. Not still, but I know that architecture, all arts feed one another. And the architecture of that building, this music had to be born there. There in that, in the attic, looking out over Paris. So this music would never have been born in a modern school of music with its concrete walls and its, you know, concrete floors, and its disgusting windows with disgusting airtight plastic. this music needed wood. It needed air that was free air that would move. It was not sealed, like modern buildings. It's people are becoming stupider and stupider, and part of it is the architecture and everything that's around us. But it's not just the building, Henrik. It's also the fact that wood is somehow a soul brother to our souls. We need wood. We have to have wood artistically. Otherwise the art will not work, will not function. Religion will not work without wood. No, the act of loving God requires wood. You cannot, when you are surrounded by wood, your love of God flourishes like a glorious flower of spring. When you're surrounded by stone or steel or cement or brick, it may be there, but the colors aren't there. The ode, the beautiful perfume of your love is not there. No, but I'm focusing on wood because of this incredible table. You know, my hands are on it, and it's just... But you see, like a piano also needs wood. It needs wood for more than just resonance. It's the nature of the instrument. You can't have a plastic piano. For example, if they made the piano of plastic, which they do, the soundboard is wood, but the rest is all plastic. The sound is not right. Of many halls that I play, the sound is terrible. And this is also because the architecture is everything. I'm afraid everything has become sick and poisoned, and even architecture. Like you have, especially architecture, reflects. It's funny, like you say, like art, music, and architecture work together. And if architecture becomes insane and stupid and totally useless and totally without any genius, none, zero. Same with the art and the music. And this is what's happened. You have the greatest architects are the ones who create the stupidest buildings. You know, how can you design a building with the first principle being this shape? You know, how does it look if I'm standing 1 kilometer away? How can you be such an idiot? How is it possible that these people are paid money to do something so stupid? Because inside, nothing works. You cannot build a building just because it looks like an orange or an apple, or because I want a building that'll look like a bird, or I want it to reflect an idea of some sails in a in a harbor, you know. But people have to walk 4 kilometers to get from the door to their seat, or the doors are all over the place. Like, the inside is a human disaster. And the same in the music. You have music now that has no chords, no melody, none whatsoever. The singer just picks out a tone in a chord and just goes from that tone. Yeah, ba 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 da 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 ba ba. I'll keep going on, but like, should I waste time? It's complete madness. 50 years ago, they would have thrown those artists into the river and said, just, get out of here. This is garbage. Garbage.
Do you think your music works better in a concert than on a record?
Oh, definitely. But I think the record has a good function in that it brings some of that beauty into the people's lives wherever they are. Of course, it's much better to hear the real sound of a piano and to be to be present when the pianist is there. Well, the thing with digital sound is that it needs to be filled up with analog sound. It's too empty. So you need to bring both together, analog and digital, to really achieve a beautiful sound. But I don't know. Like, is that the only way people will be able to hear my music? Because the way things are going, nobody even has speakers at home. Like if you ask anyone who's under the age of 50, do they have a real sound system at home? 95% will say no. They listen on their, you know, it's funny, like how much evil one man can do. It's absolutely incredible. I'm referring to iPhones and Steve Jobs, like how he destroyed music and destroyed humanity by removing CDs. Like his ego was so sick, so putrid and so evil. He could not bear the thought that anyone could listen to music that they didn't buy from him. He wanted the world to buy all their music through him. And that's why he took away the CD players from his computers. And his computers are garbage. I mean, they're no better than anything else. But of course, they cost 10 times more. And so, like, what are you paying for? Nothing. There's not even a CD player there. So, how are people going to listen to my music? There is no way. You cannot listen to the piano on speakers that are this big. You know, that's like, this is insane. They will always be listening through a cord into one of his machines. They will be prisoners. They will never leave because they cannot imagine. It's like people who have been trained to eat. Okay, I don't know if I can. Okay, eat shit, right? Eventually you can train people. You give them a plate, they'll eat it. Eventually, right now we couldn't do it, but through careful process it can be done. And then they cannot imagine, especially if it means actually having to go buy speakers and spend money on a physical object and not spend money on an iPhone. No, see, all money has to go onto the internet world. These people will never make the pilgrimage or the journey that it's required to get a pair of speakers and an amplifier into their home so they can actually sit down and do something and listen to music and not have to have a cord going into their ear. But the funny thing is that in 1955, the situation was very similar. You listened to music from the radio on a little box. Right? There was no stereo. There was no, in around 1963, 62, or 60, like around came the first stereo record players with actual speakers. And then that developed into big speakers, so that by 1968, 69, the city was full of audio stores with speakers and turntables and everything, because music was meant to be a pleasure. It was meant to be a pleasure to listen to. If the music was beautiful and worth listening to, it was worth having good sound. And I don't know how we'll ever get back to that. Money, when it goes crazy, the only purpose of money is to suck life out of human beings. When it really is let loose, it's evil. It's not, and people give themselves over to it, and not you and me, not people, but there are individuals, you know, who. It's just Stalin was the richest man in the world. Lenin was the richest man in the world. He had everything for free. Whatever he desired, he could buy. But he wouldn't, because he wouldn't have to buy it. He would simply, give me this, and it would be given. This is wealth. The wealth. It's not power, it's wealth. And so, anyway, let's leave this and just focus that music has a beauty in it which will save people. It has a music, not just, I mean, I'm not speaking about necessarily my music, but beautiful music saves mankind, saves us from our darkness, saves us from money, saves us from everything. It has a beauty that I believe is the highest beauty, the highest that is possible on this earth. You know, music is from heaven, and it's like food for the soul. And like music is divisible. Every minute is divisible into millions of bits, and our soul feels all those millions, and they shine into us. The colors explode in us. Yeah, like the music is a language that is sound, and it's a special sound, and it's really divisible in a million per minute. And it's not, that's why I'm talking, the sound is not a wave, because at millions of a second there is no wave. But music is there. And we hear these little touches, tiny things, little bits there and there, that are going by in 1/1,000,000th of a second. But they lift our soul and give us wings, and we fly. So, anyway, yeah, we better stop there. Thank you so much for
Thank you
for the chance to talk about music.